Do 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 do
I don't
do.
know why the theme of the Tales from the Crypt just entered my head.
Oh, that's the song I always whistle if I'm like
Really?
just doing something. Yeah, if I'm just like going around the house and I'm whistling something, I'm always whistling the theme and going. I just always do that, that really worked well when I was like working for Spirit because they said like, "Oh wow, he's really into this job." Like, no, it's just like what I always whistle. So I always wind up whistling that.
You just want to be the guy from Demon Knight. That's all, because
Yeah,
they whistle it at the very end of Demon Knight. But
oh, that's right. He does. I forgot
You
about
mean
that.
Billy Zane?
no,
No,
the guy who ends up taking Billy Zane's place. He's
yeah.
still the demon, but he's a new guy. I'm not sure who the actor was when he did it, but that's a good movie. But speaking of good movies, welcome to the spoiler room. Here we are, a late night recording. I got, as Mr. Derek Carey described it, antsy, if you will. But we recently watched the latest horror movie called Get Out, the latest wide release film. And I just had to talk about it, and I just couldn't wait. And lucky enough, I had some crew members who agreed and said that they'd come on the show and discuss it with me. And we may have one or two more crew members joining us as the show goes along. But here to start off tonight, we have Mr. Astro Radio Z himself. It is Mr. Derek Carey. Hello, Derek.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
I'm doing well.
Bien.
Thank you. Bien, yes.
Can you say that a little more whiter, please?
Probably.
Bien. Bonjour, señoros.
Mucho gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias, yes. And the other voice you hear in the room with us right now is the man himself. He's in his house. It is Scotty D. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
Oh, now you're going to get all quiet, huh? You get all introvert.
Avita Zane. No, wait.
I totally derailed this entire episode already.
We're already off the rails here. But tonight on the block to discuss is Get Out, a new wide release horror film brought to us by Jordan Peele, who wrote and directed this film. And the description per IMDb: a young African-American man visits his European-American girlfriend's family estate, where he learns that many of its residents, who are black, have gone missing. And he soon learns the horrible truth when another frantic African-American warns him to get out. He soon learns this is easier said than done. Ah, yes. This film is getting a lot of buzz. It's a horror film that right now I think is trending at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which for a horror film is pretty doggone impressive. But is it as good as those ratings make it out to be? Well, tonight we're going to discuss and let you decide. So first, Derek, let's just get your initial impression when you saw Get Out. When you came out of the theater, how did you feel about this film?
I was smiling from ear to ear. I absolutely loved this movie. There was very little about it that bothered me. Almost nothing about it bothered me. I think it coming from somebody who's a traditional comic writer and actor, I think Jordan Peele played to his strengths. The funny parts in this movie were extremely funny. The horror elements were equally as horrific. But the main star of this movie is the tension. There's just a sense of unease, and it's mostly because it's playing with our preconceptions of how races react to each other or just relate to one another. And I think the lead character is trying to break those down. And the way that character was played was amazing. Everything about this movie was just handled perfectly. And I loved it. I thought this was a great movie.
Awesome. And Scotty D, how about you after you saw this? Your initial feeling or impression with the film?
Oh, I thought it was really well done. I went to see this movie. Should we just talk about initial reaction, or why we would be interested, or
if either one, go ahead.
All right. Well, I was initially interested. Here's the thing. Here's an interesting little provocative pull quote for your episode. I am getting sick and tired of white people. Now, obviously, as we have already established on this show, I'm about as white as you can get. I mean, I'm going to move up north, and I will be able to fade into a snowbank with ease. It is. I mean, I just am. But here's the thing: I am living right now in Florida, and I cannot go outside without seeing Confederate flags and people honking their horns and lots of the yeehaw crowd. And lots of excuses and lots of just really awful things. I am somebody, I like the blues. Okay. I like the blues a lot. And, the blues started as of course, from black artists, and it's gotten more diverse over the years. Yes. I went to a blues club, 2-3 weeks ago thinking this will be good. Nothing but like middle-aged white dads. including the band. And I'm like, that sucks. So last weekend I find out there's a blues festival in town. Lots of bands. Not one person in any of the bands that performed all day was not white.
What?
No, which I was like, okay, most musical acts, and maybe this says something, you wouldn't think twice, but this is the frickin' blues. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like, I mean, I'm not saying it has to be like one color or the other color completely either. I'd like diversity, I'd like something. And I haven't seen a lot of the diversity around here. I've seen a lot of segregation that has been imposed by like fear or societal norms down here, and it's been pissing me off. So when I found out there was a movie where that was going to tackle these issues, I'm like, yes, sir, and I'm going to go there, and I guarantee I won't be surrounded by the same color, hopefully, and I will see this movie. And I think Jordan Peele did a really fine job. I think that it's one of those rare horror films that unfortunately is now a little bit more. As fantastical as it is, it's a little more seems a little more realistic now than it would have, say, like 1 or 2 years ago. I think that he handled a lot of the tension well. Derek is completely right. I mean, every moment you're just like, oh God, what's gonna happen? I'm so tense. I'm just like so worried for this guy. I thought that he handled the tension great. This guy can. This guy comes from a comedy background, and there is comedic bits to it, which are none of it is overpowering. In fact, any comedic bit is put in exactly the right spot.
Yes,
it not only makes the joke stick, but it just relieves the tension just enough not to overpower it, and then you're thrown right back into it. He is a master at like just manipulating your emotions. Jordan Peele does a really good job. Danielle Kaluuya in the lead is fantastic. He is such a great lead in this. I mean, he was just 100% all the time. I thought a lot of the other casting was clever, especially when you can kind of go back and see parallels to their earlier works. I just think it was really well done. I have one complaint, which is that I was kind of expecting it to be more biting, like more scathing. Didn't want it to be too broad so that it seems ridiculous, but I wanted it to be a little bit more scathing, and I wasn't expecting it to be so subtle as it was.
Right.
That's my one complaint. Otherwise, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I think you're really right about this. I had some of the same observations about it too, is that I was expecting it to be a little more in your face than what it was.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, I didn't care. I just thought I was so engrossed in what was going to happen, and the way the third act turns, I was not expecting it, and I just I was on my edge of my seat because I was like, what the fuck is going to happen in this movie? I loved it. I absolutely fucking loved it.
I did too. I got sucked into this film, right away. You're absolutely right. Daniel was fantastic as the Chris Washington character, and he's just well written and such great performances. Everybody does well in here. You could tell they were trying to bring their best game in this, because I felt there were solid performances by everyone in here. And I came out of this film, I was like, damn, that was a really good film. Jordan Peele can write as many horror films as he wants if they're going to be like that. Because, yeah, that tension, you guys mentioned it already, that tension is always there. And in the beginning, he kind of hits it head on. And then, because with the way the dialogue is with Chris Washington and his girlfriend, played by Allison Williams, I mean, he basically just comes right out and says it. Hey, do they know I'm black? And she goes, it doesn't, it won't matter, to which, she's just being naive. Of course, we find out later exactly the truth of everything going on. But, that
was a wonderful moment though, when he has that great bit, where, and everybody was, the whole row I was in was chuckling at this moment where it's like, I just never heard my dad talk like that before. Like, my man, what's going? And he's just sitting there, he's going there, like, because she seems to be mortified by this, and he's like, yeah, welcome to my world. This is Tuesday for me, unfortunately, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, he plays with that so well in the expectations, and the fact that, yeah, especially through her character, she's playing it off as like, oh, I've never heard that before or whatnot. And yeah, and the way they handle that is so well done. I mean, this whole film really had a lot of care taken in every subject when it came to that point. Where they were talking about, oh, well, my dad never talked like that or whatnot. I thought it was handled with a lot of care and thought out. You could tell this was really well thought out, this horror film, from start to finish. And joining us right now is Mr. Gonzerific, Mr. Andrew Shearer. Hello, Andrew. Are you here with us? Maybe not.
Hola, Andrew. Sorry. I'm trying to go with the theme that we had going before.
We'll try to get him in. I think he might be having a little bit of a technical difficulty. But yeah, that scene. Oh, you're breaking up there a bit, Andrew.
I'm in my car.
Oh, okay. Hold on just one moment here.
We're at my cell phone connection.
Ah, the mercy of your cell phone connection. It's
the best I could do.
Well, I appreciate you chiming in, and if you need to drop off and come back, we completely understand. But we were just getting our initial impressions and stuff, and talking initially about Get Out. And if you could, why don't you just give us your thoughts after the credits rolled of what you thought of the film, your initial impression. Can we get it? I think his cell phone connection is dropping out too much.
Aww.
I sound okay?
Oh, now I can hear you. It dropped out for a minute there.
I hope it doesn't go in and out, God damn it. I don't want you to have to edit me.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry. We just fix it in post.
Oh, I don't want you to have to do a lot of fixing. I don't want to be the fix.
This is the angriest I've ever heard Andrew in my entire life.
Well, I'm
Same.
sorry. I really like this movie, man, and I really can't stand white people right now. And so this was like the greatest movie to.
Thank you.
I mean, that's what I thought at the end of it. I was just like, thank you for making everything okay and not for the killer to still be alive and all this other shit, and for it, for it to just be cops and yeah, all the cops were black, and this was just a great black movie. It's got nothing to do with white people. You could enjoy it. I'm a little at limit with white folks, so this was great.
Yeah, and that's what Scott was saying as well, is that he was a bit fed up with the residents and area and the white folks, and this was a really good film for him as well.
Andrew's down south like I am, so
yeah,
he knows that we're kind of the worst anyway, and like down here, holy shit.
Well, I mean, I just my favorite part of Get Out, the best thing moment where he was like talking about being uncomfortable around a lot of white people. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, no. It starts to cry. I mean, like, Christ. I mean, I'm white and I don't like being around a lot of white people. You have to know that when you're around only white people get weird and funky, and they get bold, and they start to say shit to you like, yeah, right? Because we're white and there's nobody black here, right? You know what I mean? You're like, no, fuck you. I don't know what you mean. But you could be also just like, tell me more of what you mean. I want to know how racist you are. You know what I mean? So that to me was the best part. Exactly. We should, I want to see more like this.
Yeah, I do too, and that's what I've loved about it, was this film puts you in Chris Washington's place and makes you feel uncomfortable for him.
Yes.
It does such an excellent job in that. And as we were mentioned before, when his girlfriend goes, "Oh, my parents and that aren't like that," you're like, "Yeah, no."
Well, no, because everybody has to. Did any of you see "I'm Not Your Negro," the James Baldwin documentary?
It has not come here yet, and I really want to see it.
Well, it's gonna make you. It is between that and Get Out. This is the movies we needed, because what he says is like people need to just be able to look at themselves. You just need to be able to, and that's the big problem. That's why people are saying, "Oh, now's the backlash is coming. Oh, Get Out is anti-white."
Oh, you saw it coming, didn't you?
Yeah, it's like, are you really? Can you not just look at it? Do you really not know anyone racist? Can you admit that maybe you're a little bit too, and just be like, all right, and move past it, and admit that this kind of stuff really exists? Because the awkward shit, the awkward part that comes with white people overcompensating for not being right, you know what I mean? But like, don't do that for him. He doesn't need that from you, son of a fucking bitch. That's worse.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing people are not seeing. They're only seeing superficial things about this movie, that it's white people being mean to black people. But one review, half-star review, says terrible lib-turd propaganda movie. I think you are missing the point of what's being said in this movie. That I think let's go into spoiler territory if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a revelation somewhere near the end where we find out that the white people are actually wanting to transfer their brains into black people because it's fashionable, and they hate themselves so much that they want to be black people. Do you not understand that this is actually making fun of the quote unquote lib turds that are so like they hate themselves so much that they're trying to be something they aren't. This is not just commenting on the people that that hate other races. It's also commenting on the people that overcompensate.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
they had the dad that was like, oh, he's gonna say I could have voted for Obama the third term. He's gonna say that. It's just like, and then he fucking says it like I know exactly what they're talking about. I think the people that are angry are mad because a black person made the best horror movie in I don't know how long.
Well, a lot of the people, you know, who are, I mean, not the review, obviously, and the reviewer obviously came in with his own prejudices. I think a lot of people who are criticizing it haven't even seen the movie. I think they saw the trailer and said, "Oh my god!" You know, it's basically like if you could like just sum it up, it would be like that, like internet meme of the screaming, pointing white girl that you've all seen. You know, it's I mean, and you know. And the overcompensating thing, a lot of people do that. You know what? I'll put my hand up in the air. Guilty sometimes. I've caught myself doing that. And this one kind of puts it in that other kind of realm of where it's like, you know, it plays on ideas of that, but it also plays on of like the white guilt and everything to the extent of wanting to be this. It also plays on this idea of though as like no, I believe in equality. I believe in that black is beautiful. No, they want black people on their terms. They want them as long as they're really one of them, and that's another thing that it's commenting on as well, I think.
Yeah, and they comment through that best with the I believe it's the Walter, not the Walter character. The gentleman, the guy who was first kidnapped in the beginning.
Yeah.
They have him show up later on, and
Right.
he is completely not himself. And yeah, they kind of play with that idea with that through that character quite a bit. And then what I thought was interesting too is how he turns some of these characters around. Like, for instance, we get the Stephen Root character. He played Jim Hudson. He's a blind art dealer who recognizes the talent in Chris Washington because Chris Washington is a great photographer. He's got an eye. And so we have a blind art director of an art gallery who recognizes his work and his voice. And at first you think this guy might be the one person out of the entire group that, you know, Chris can talk to and maybe not quite feel so, you know, uncomfortable. But then we turn out
he doesn't see color. He's one of those assholes. I don't see color.
I was expecting him to say that.
Yeah,
because he doesn't see anything.
Because he doesn't see anything. But then you find out that
on those type of people.
mm-hmm. Yeah, then you find out later that oh no, he's bid on him, which, oh man, you know, Bradley Whitford, he plays the dad in this, and he was such a subtle yet creepy guy, wasn't he, Scott?
Dude, the moment he came on screen, Mark,
yeah,
made me like, I'm like, Revenge of the Nerds, nerd. Like, I was just like floored. I'm like, holy shit, that's that dude from Revenge of the Nerds.
Of course, I thought Billy Madison. You know, Eric.
Billy Madison, yeah. I love him from the Aaron Sorkin TV shows West Wing and Studio 60. So
mm-hmm.
The thing about being
basically, he is about the whitest guy they could have picked, I guess. Aaron Sorkin, Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, pretty much.
What were you gonna say, Andrew?
No, it was a Billy Madison quote.
Oh. But Bradley Whitford played this so well, and I tell you, that was one of the really tense and creepy moments when they were bidding. Oh my God, it was just like, it was handled so well because it just made you're just like, they're not saying any words, they're using bingo cards to bid on people. and that, among many scenes, were just, I thought, so well edited as well. Derek, how do you think this was pieced together, especially some of these scenes?
It was flawless. It was literally, I have zero complaints about this movie. Let's talk about the bingo cards. Can you think of something more white than bingo? Seriously,
Goku.
everything about this movie was so meticulously perfect. The craft of the film, it was beautiful. I think it was paced extremely well. And this goes to what we were talking about before, where Scott and I both thought it was going to kind of be a different kind of horror film. But then when it turned out to be a much more subtle, kind of methodically paced one, I was so surprised. And actually, I was very happy that it decided to be its own kind of movie, as opposed to, I think Andrew kind of ruined me on it right off the bat. He's like, "Oh, this is better than Green Room." I'm like, "Wait, is this going to be like a Green Room type of movie?" And it totally wasn't. It totally wasn't. But I just thought it was just so expertly handled, like all the way through.
And you could see some influences too from Jordan Peele. While I was watching this, I'm going, Jordan's a big horror fan. The way this plays out, because especially the character Caleb Landry Jones plays, which is Jeremy Armitage, which is the brother of Rose, Chris's girlfriend. He's like the most straight, like not even subtle about that there's something up with all these folks in the suburbs. But he had a little bit of McDowell from Clockwork Orange in it. And I mean, he was spinning the cane at one point. He spins that cane, and I'm like, oh man, that just gave me flashbacks. Did you kind of get a feel like he was trying to play that level of crazy?
I got more the brother from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh.
Let's not besmirch McDowell more than he has besmirched himself.
Sorry.
I'm thinking Brother Dynamite. Yeah.
Brother Dynamite. He was just,
and you're constantly wondering, like, okay, is there going to be one of them who isn't as committed to it? Like,
right.
One of them who isn't in on it. And you get little hints, like, for instance, while they're bidding, he's kind of off on the side and he's not looking too into it. It's like, oh, I wonder if he's going to be somebody who's actually going to try to help him or something. And you don't find out till later, like, no, they just all suck. But I mean, I was wondering, like, is he going to be the holdout, or is his girlfriend really going to be okay? Oh, no, worst bitch in the world. Never mind.
That was another thing I thought was great, was that there was no good white person, because that's such a cliche of Hollywood stuff, the Help or Hidden Figures or, any of that stuff. It's like, there's the one good white person. No, not this time.
And also though, on the flip side, not every it wasn't a thing of where it was like every black character bands together at the end. No, in fact, for the most time, he's in on it on his own, and then his friend is catching up to him, and his friend is on his own because his friend goes to see what he thinks is going to be a sympathetic ear, and she brings in two colleagues who are also African American. Like, okay, they're going to be more receptive to this story, which I know sounds crazy. Nope. You're in it, and that's kind of like, from what we've been told, is like, you're on your own against this. It's like you against the world, basically, from them. And it kind of like brought up that theme as well.
Well, yeah, it broke that normal Hollywood trope where you would almost see that in the past, where, oh nope, they believe him and they're going to go investigate, and it doesn't take that turn. So where you might expect that out of some Hollywood film or a wide release film, it really turned it on its head, and these characters, you felt for them because they were completely on their own. I mean, especially Chris. I mean, and even with the help, we've seen it in the scenes with the Georgina and the Walter character. I thought it was great because, at no point do they really seem to, well, because they've got brainwashed, but at no point do they even seem like they could be allies, at any point. And what do you think of those two characters, Andrew, the Walter and Georgina character?
Georgina's the best.
Isn't she?
Georgina's so awesome. My God, that close up of her that they use in the trailer, that's, there's no CGI there. There's nothing. It's just a good ass actor.
Yeah, she put in a hell of a performance in this film, and that scene especially where she goes, no. You're just like, oh man, I'm feeling really. That was just an intense moment because you weren't sure.
It was classic horror. It was a classic horror performance. I mean, this movie. I mean, the guy clearly, like Jordan Peele, he's a classic horror nerd. There's this video I saw. I have to try and find it for you guys. They play him 5 seconds of horror movie scores, clips, and he can name the film and the person who composed the score.
Nice.
Dude, tell me the sequences where he fell into that black place where he's looking up at the little box that is supposed to be what his body is
sunken
seeing.
Place. Yeah,
the sunken place. Tell me that the score there wasn't straight out of Hitchcock's Vertigo.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was, man. And there was, because like you could gloss over it and go, well, this is like maybe an expanded thing that could have been deleted from Tales from the Hood or something like that. Like you could just kind of gloss over it and say like that. But to me, there is so much more film nerd shit going on in here. I mean, this is like, I know La La Land's the big talk for film nerds, but for me, this is it. I mean, there's Polanski, Kubrick, all kind. You could just really go down the line in it. The guy knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah, and you mentioned that there's even the Missy Armitage character played by Catherine Keener, who ends up being probably the most evil person out of the entire group, and the way she played that character with the hypnotism. I loved the thing with the cup, and it was so simple and so effective. And yeah, you're right. It was old school horror because there's nothing really much in that scene except two people sitting there, and she starts doing the thing with the spoon, and you're like, oh shit, it's going to get creepy. And it just gets more and more creepy as she spins that spoon more. And I loved how that scene was written. What'd you think of her character, Scott?
Well, I love that they cast Catherine Keener for that, because if you didn't notice, that was also a little bit of a joke. She had been, well, I mean, it's not a joke. I mean, she's a wonderful actress. She's fantastic. But she was in like tons of movies over the years, leading up to her big, huge exposure. Johnny Suede, Living in Oblivion, those Tom DiCillo films and stuff like that. And she was in all that stuff. But where she really got noticed by a lot of people was being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
The film about about people hijacking someone else's consciousness.
See, I thought he was going to say 40-year-old virgin. I'm like, where's he?
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
No. Being John Malkovich was where she got all the attention from like Oscar people and critics. Like, they're like, holy shit.
That's true. Yes.
And I thought, and I was caught that as I was leaving, like, oh, wait. Oh, that's pretty good. But no, she's so good. She's very creepy, but it's not like this. I mean, they have the Georgina character to be very creepy, and then we find out why she is creepy and why Walter is creepy as well. Why do they talk like, they're 80 years old? Well, and, we find that out, later, but the Catherine Keener character, they have her being just creepy, but you don't know how threatening she is until she gets you in her office. And I thought that was really well done. And as I said, I liked how they kind of did the little nod with the casting as well.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. Derek, how about you with Missy Armitage? She ends up being probably the most evil person out of the group, doesn't she?
I really think that she's so warm in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing is, these characters work the way they do because they are set up well. It's written in a way that all of this works. There's nothing that just jumps out of nowhere. It's all set up and then methodically played out. And I think her character, the only reason it works so well is because it's set up perfectly. Everything about these characters was just, this script was brilliant. It was just so well done. And she did a great job with what she was given.
Yeah, she was. And it is set up because when we first meet all of Alice Rose's family, they kind of seem like just the nice, warm family. Okay, you're like maybe overdoing it a little bit, but yeah. And then they turn out to be a bunch of batshit crazy folks, including his girlfriend, who I thought that scene was handled really well in the reveal. Was with that and finding the keys. Did you notice what they did in the audio with that? When he keeps asking her to find the keys, you can actually hear her while she's scrounging around in the bag, moving the keys around.
Yeah.
And I think, and I honestly, that was on purpose. I think, you know, that with everything else, the way it plays out, that was on purpose because after he finds the photographs and realizes, oh, it wasn't just, I see what's kind of going on here. And she keeps playing it up and her family's threatening him and you can still hear the keys. That was just one of the examples. Derek, with the audio editing in here, I thought he played with the audio design in here well. What'd you think with it?
Yeah, it was a very dense mix. There was a lot going on in it, but none of it was distracting. It's like the entire movie is just nothing was given to be an afterthought. Mm-hmm. It was just completely, it was a masterwork. And I don't say that lightly. There was no, I really cannot say one thing that was wrong with this movie at all.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And even the one, we do get a jump scare. And it
worked.
And it worked so well. I jumped. I admit it. I jumped because you get it out of nowhere. The thing is, it's not like that build-up jump scare like you normally get in most modern films. You get, and it's just one time. It's brief, but it's enough there to get your heart pumping a little bit. You know, Scott, how about you with the jump scare in here? We only get one, which is also a bit unheard of in a modern horror.
You got to tell me when it was.
Oh, you didn't.
I mean, I can think of two possible things that you're referring to.
It's when it was when he was going downstairs to have a smoke, and as he's walking down the hall, just as he goes out of frame, something in the background, out of focus, Georgina, I think it is. Runs past.
She walks past. See, yeah, a lot of people jumped. I'll be honest, I didn't jump at that because I said the scare wasn't that someone was in the house. The scare was what was on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it was the audio cue.
Yeah,
it was the sting from the music. Mm-hmm. Ding! You know, it was like this big piano sting. Because I'm like, yeah, she lives there. People are gonna, and other people were jumping in the audience. I'm like, well, she does live there. I mean, that's probably the least creepy thing that's happened so far, guys. Is that there's like, you know, he's not the only person who couldn't sleep at night, you know?
Well, I think though, Scott, the difference there is that the film is so understated to that point that stinger was just like it was like a cattle prod
It
across
did.
your chest.
It did, but I thought, and I can get that, but I do think it was mostly the soundtrack in that.
Mhm.
I think a greater scare was when in the next 30 seconds, which was the other part that I was thinking of, when he actually goes out for his cigarette, and Walter's just booking down the road, and he's like, "What the hell?" The guy just like makes a perfect zigzag, like just around him.
Right, but
And
that's not a jump scare.
It wasn't
No.
quite a jump scare. I could think of I was thinking of two things. Like, well, he could mean either the sting from the music or the running, and I'm not. I was more affected by the running, but the audience that I saw the movie with was more affected by the sting.
Well, what also works with that running again is the sound, because you kind of hear him before you really see Walter running, and then you see him running. It's just like, and then he turns around and he sees Georgina just staring at him from out the window. It's like bang, bang, and you're just like, oh crap! It's like there's some really weird shit going on in this house. You're like,
There's some great music with that run too.
oh yeah,
Like that's like great stringed instruments going. Yeah.
yeah. The soundtrack in this fits so well with the movie too. Is it surprised me with that soundtrack again, falling back to Jordan Peele's experience and love for horror that comes through even on the soundtrack. Now, the composer for it was let's see if I've got that here. Michael Abels is the composer, and I thought he handled this really well. This was his first work.
Wow.
Good for him.
Really? That's amazing. That is surprising.
He is an African-American composer who did his orchestral work, Global Warming, Delights and Dances, and Urban Legend, choral pieces, but he's done a lot of orchestral work. This is his first, it looks like, credited film.
Wow.
And it was spot on.
Nice.
I love soundtracks to movies, and this one, it fitted so well. And the story itself, we've alluded to the story before of how well it's edited and crafted. This actually, just when you think there's no real originality, even though he borrowed from a lot of elements, I thought the story was really original, because I thought I had it figured out until you get to that point where he's got Georgina in the car and you realize, I'm dumb. This is what's actually going
Yeah, I thought that was a great reveal. And then after that point, you finally see the scars on their foreheads.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so well done. So
That-
well done.
That part, I tell you, first of all, I got to give two things with that moment. One, shit, I'm starting to lose it. Okay. The one thing I got to give you is that we're used to seeing people do stupid shit in horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of got that. But there was a narrative reason for him to do this. He couldn't let it go. And I was dreading that moment, because I thought, oh no, is the movie going to end here?
Right.
I was about to be so pissed off that the movie was just going to end then and there. And but it didn't, thankfully. But I'm like, so it wasn't him doing something dumb. It was him doing something that he had to do. However, the audience. Now, I usually don't like a lot of participation from my audience. This one, the movie really seemed to be made for getting audience participation.
100%.
It was so good to see this on opening night. Theater I was in, they crapped on this movie in my neighborhood. And I think you can chalk that up to the demographics I was talking about before. Rock Dog got a bigger theater than this damn movie did. It's not a lie. It's true.
I believe it.
This guy.
It's hard for me to believe that's even a movie. Rock Dog.
Well, no shit, but that's another story.
I
But
think it's German.
anyway, but this got shoved into the very ass end theater, the tiny one, where they kind of throw the movies in that they've had for like 6 weeks. And this was like the 7 o'clock show on a Friday night, and the theater filled up pretty good. but the audience was so into it, and they were so on board. And that part came on, and the girlfriend says, "Grandma." It's like, "Oh, grandma, kick the bitch out, kick the bitch
out." Andrew, glad you could rejoin us. I know you dropped out there. We're just talking about this ending and how the big reveal of, like for me, I thought I had it figured out going, okay, it's them doing, this transference, this brainwashing. And then it was like, no, we aren't just doing parts. The people are actually different people inside these bodies. And that we were talking about how that reveal was handled. How'd you feel about that?
That was great, man. I mean, you know me, I always talk about how I don't sit there trying to figure out a movie, like, oh, what's the mystery? Trying to piece all the pieces together. I'm just going with whatever, hoping they don't like betray how good they're being or fall back on shit I've seen before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope they don't do the things that I think they're going to do.
Right.
So I just was like, I started thinking so many things, as soon as I was pretty sure that, once you're sure that the old people are in the young bodies, the white people in the black bodies. Brain thing was cool, but I really got when they made it clear that that's what it was. I was just like, cool, we're not gonna have a CGI monster.
It's not aliens or CGI monster. It's just creepy freaking white people.
No, and no one ever explored a quiet room. That was what that part where there's that little closet or whatever that he sees. And I was like, this motherfucker is not gonna go into a room like it's The Conjuring all of a sudden. I was like, please don't do that. But what he found was way better than every Conjuring that will ever be made. The little box of pictures. God, that was so good.
Oh, the box of pictures, because I didn't know what he was going to find in that little room either. And then
that was 70s as shit.
And that was another thing that the audience was like going nuts. It's like that he like opened that room, like he like started like walk into this strange room, and I just hear, no, do not go in there, do not do it. It was hilarious because that thing kept on going to the point where like even. Because I would say like that the demographic, and this is just for me like watching people as they were leaving, I would say the demographic in the audience was probably 70-30 in favor of white. And even like the most like not conservative, but the most like say subdued of the homebody Wheel of Fortune crowd, shall we say, was getting into the participation where they were just saying, the bitch won't die. I was just dying in my seat. But yeah, the closet was a great moment because that's when you really figure out like, oh my God, this goes as deep as we thought this went. This goes even deeper.
Well, again, we have the setup because for me, I guess the way I thought about it when he found the pictures and we find out that she's been actually, he's definitely not the first person she's brought home, and she's actually been basically the person who goes out and gets individuals to bring home so that people can do the brain transfer. I think the way they played it up, I still thought maybe they'd play the angle that she was hypnotized by mom.
No,
being used. I mean, that's the impression I kind of got at first. Was maybe they were going to go in that direction, but oh no, they don't. I
got kind of like a weird masculine thing, like you said I was the first. I got like that kind of thing where you hear that every now and then, and so that's kind of like what I thought that was playing on there.
That could have been what it was playing on as well. But for me, when, she was legitimately acting like she couldn't find her keys at first, I'm like, well, maybe she is hypnotized and she's used as to go out and get the individuals that they find. But then we find out, no, she's as evil as the rest of her freaking family. And again, I just I go back to that scene because I remembered it so well, where he's sitting there going, "Where are the keys? Give me the keys." And she's just like, "Oh no." And he's called her out already, and she's still playing it for like 30 seconds, and you can hear the keys rattle. And then finally she just gives up. And she's like, "Oh no, you know what? You're right. I'm a bitch." And then she goes, then what'd you think of that? Then afterwards we see her on the laptop, Andrew, going through picking her next victim, so to speak, and how she was eating her cereal. Even.
I laughed so hard, and the people in front of me laughed so hard too, because I was drinking some white ass milk and eating dry ass cereal separate. That is the whitest thing I've ever seen.
Fruit Loop. It was Fruit Loops too.
And it was
Even more than the bingo. Even more than
Yeah.
the bingo.
You couldn't. I mean, I mean, the only whiter thing she could have been doing was watching The Wire.
Well, also listening to I Had the Time of My Life.
Yes.
Oh my
right?
god,
Dirty
I was
Dancing?
laughing so fucking hard at that.
Very
And
funny.
that was
man.
that was that subtle humor he worked in, because here she is chewing on Fruit Loops, drinking dry cereal, milk, and listening
Through a straw.
through a straw, and listening to freaking Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing. Just that made me laugh out loud. I was like the only one. There was like 8 people in my audience Thursday night, but I didn't care. I laughed out loud at that. I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Well, that was my concern. I had a friend that saw it the night before me, and she was like, "You're gonna love it." And I'm like, "Is it funny?" The trailers make it look like it's just horror, and I was like, "I just don't want to." I'm not. I want there to be me, man. I'm like there to be a weird ass edge to stuff. I want to see it. I'm always the one making all y'all watch the black movies. Now it's like, hey, could you come talk with us about the black movie? Like, yes, I can. I would love to. So I was hoping for things like that, and that was so sharp. Like drinking milk, which is white. This white woman sitting looking at all the black people, and which black person will destroy next.
And she likes her job. I mean, you got that yes, it was she was going at it very professionally, but you kind of got like there was a perverse thrill in what she was doing. She was really getting
was that
off
Brian
on
Williams' daughter, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Allison Williams. Yeah, you're right, and that's too. And I thought that was an interesting angle with her character, was that when she's looking through him, you could tell she actually kind of likes this and kind of likes the individuals she's picking out. And I thought that was an interesting little extra character thing, considering how the rest of her family was. And again, it falls back to what was being trendy in that area. And all the old people, they all talked about golf. I loved it.
I fucking hate golf so much, and so anything that kind of looks down on golf is okay with me.
And then one guy's like, "Tiger's the best." You're like, "Oh, fuck off."
You knew it was coming too. You knew it was coming. Yeah, and I liked. See, as much as I was surprised that this movie was not more biting, not more scathing. That's what I was really expecting from it. I almost have to applaud how subtle it was in how it talked about, like, no. Yeah, about, like, you've seen the things where people will turn and they'll all of a sudden get really insulting and start using derogatory terms and stuff. No, we're talking about the things about where you might introduce your boyfriend at a party and a woman will think nothing of going over to and like grabbing his arm, or or talking about, like, oh, you're into sports, Tiger Woods, huh?
That's like the "can I touch your hair" shit,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's this really, it's weird that we think it's subtle, because it's such an insult, but it in this weird world that is fucking subtle, that people don't think that's really messed up, which it is. And I've seen people do all of the things they did at this damn party.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it. My jaw has like just dropped down and hit the floor.
Yeah, the gall of these people thinking this is okay is, and again with the setup they have, you feel for the Chris character so much. You're just like, oh man, and he's just like, you can tell he's just like, okay, yep, this is odd. These are some crazy ass people. I just want to get through this party. Okay, I'm here with my girlfriend, even though I got old people asking me about sex.
He's seething about this, and he's like thinking that something's weird about this, but he's seething about it. But he almost takes it in stride. And the reason why would anyone take this in stride? Well, you would take it in stride if, okay, this is a little crazier than what I deal with every day.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do deal with it every day.
Mhm.
So I'm now out in the country with these really rich white folks, and they are overcompensating like a motherfucker. And and that's the real big deal here, is that they're really overcompensating, and it's kind of creepy. And it really, if there wasn't.
You there, Scott? I think you hit your mute.
Oh, I hit my mute. I'm sorry. I don't know when I hit that.
No,
I would say
that kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy, and I think that if there wasn't the weird stuff happening already, that was leading up to that, he would have grinned and bared it, and he wouldn't have felt the need to have the heart-to-heart with his girlfriend or anything like that, because it would have been really creepy, really weird, all these people overcompensating, but maybe that's just because I'm out of the city, and the less diverse things get, the weirder people get. I think that could have possibly been a motivation there. But because most of us, if we had to deal with that, we'd be like, holy shit, this is crazy, let's get out right now. I don't think he would have felt that way if there wasn't the creepy stuff to begin with, because I think that part of the undercurrent of this movie was that this is weird, subtle racism that people deal with every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all in that setup, and the way they're written and everything about it. I think it's meant to bring to light a lot of things that have a creepy, little humor, but then creepiness, and then it's just like reality, and you're just like, well, this is actually what here's what it actually looks like, folks. Because to those people who might not think that what they do is wrong or uncomfortable or whatnot, and it just lays it out for you. And I think that party scene was just so, oh man. And then, you have the individuals who have had the mind swap, and the way they're acting too is a bit unnerving, actually, especially with the one, I keep forgetting his name. Is it John?
Dre?
Dre.
Andre, yeah.
Yeah, with the way his character is. Wow, the way he played that, it was just it was so creepy. Wasn't it, Derek? Wasn't that character just one of those where you're like, oh man, something is seriously not right?
Yeah, you mean the scene where he's chopping wood?
No, it was the other character, the Dre character.
The guy that gets the nosebleed after he takes his picture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one we saw in the beginning as well.
Right. Yeah. And then when they flash the light at him and how he turns, that's the good thing about his character, and also the maid character, was that those two performances, he asked a lot out of those actors, because they had to go and turn on a complete dime in order to make those two scenes work. I think the main character, like Andrew had said before, just starts crying, and there's just like this slight little glimpse that she's about to say something is such a wonderful piece of acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so much said in just her face in that shot that it's just like it blew me away. And I think a lot of that is played in that same scene there where, you know, all of a sudden he just starts screaming and he lunges out at him and all that. Wonderful. The casting director did a great job, but I think, you know, a lot of credit has to go to Jordan Peele, who really gave these actors something to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to wonder how much work went into those two shots alone.
Yeah,
just unbelievable.
Yeah, because I love the subtle change in his face after he gets the flash. It's not like it's just suddenly someone waking up, and it's through the eyes, especially with Georgina. I mean, Andrew, you said it with her eyes. She said so much, and I think the Drake character, he says a lot with his eyes too, doesn't he? Just those expressions that they get with those eyes, like just for that moment they wake up, and you can actually see it without any words happening.
Yeah, I mean, these are Twilight Zone type of shit. This is my bread and butter. This is the kind of thing I love, and it's why I love blaxploitation movies so much. It's because a lot of times they had great actors that couldn't get work in mainstream film because they were black playing these parts. And people are like, those movies are cheesy. I mean, dudes, a lot of times, no. They play the living shit out of this movie. The movies are good, you know, because of how many great performances happen to be in them, man. It's the same thing here, except for you know, they get a good ass movie to be in by very talented people, and you know, it's a success. They are why there's no special effects going on in that, dude. It's just real honest to goodness great acting there.
It is the performances. This is really a well performed film, and that helps just make it such a great horror film. I mean, people may think, oh, you're talking about, no, this is a really great horror film, especially for a modern horror film. I mean, it's well executed, well thought out. Characters are actually given a little depth. I mean, even the character who you could almost see would have possibly been played by maybe Jordan Peele, but instead it's played by Little Rel Howery, plays Rod Williams, who's kind of the comedic, the most comedic character in this. But I loved how they wrote his character. Scott, what'd you think about him, Rod Williams, the guy who's trying to get people to listen about his friend who's missing?
He was so good. He was so good in this movie, and the idea that they put, I loved that. Here's how behind I am on what is popular. I had no idea who Key and Peele were until a year ago when I went to go see Keanu in the theater.
Oh, okay.
I don't have cable. Oh, that's a really great comedy. I recommend to anybody. It's a great movie. I'm so behind. I don't keep up on TV. I don't have I'm a cord cutter. I don't have regular TV hooked up, so I don't know what's popular anymore. You know, and when I say anymore, I mean like for the last 15 years. So, but I think that it was so brave to not do what I'm sure would have made a lot of studio people more happy by putting himself in the movie. Mm-hmm. Jordan Peele, I'm talking about. Jordan Peele did not put himself in this movie. Jordan Peele said, "No, it is clearly I'm back behind the camera. I'm engineering all of this, and I know funny people from my background in improv and sketch comedy. I know funny people. This will be probably the most comedic person in the whole thing." And to show that level of trust, to show that level of confidence is really amazing. I never got to, so I've never seen him on like the Carmichael show or anything like that because I'm just so behind on shit. But he did such a wonderful job. That part could have been really over the top. And it is definitely the most broad character we have in the whole movie. Did it ever seem like, yeah, I do not buy that person as a human being, like we've seen with the comic relief in countless movies? No. He's really he's a bit over the top, he's a bit over exuberant, but that's kind of why you like him.
Yeah, can we talk about the Jeffrey Dahmer speech while we're on the phone?
Oh my god. We just, you know what? Which, as funny as it was, yeah, he had a point.
But if you guys, if you guys think he's funny, I've never seen him in any of the TV shows, but Netflix has his comedy special.
Oh, does it? Oh, I'm gonna check that shit out.
Yeah, it's Lil Rel. It's a Kevin Hart presents. So I guess a lot of people click on it going like Kevin Hart. Oh wait, it's this other guy. So you have to actually look up Kevin Hart because it won't show Lil Rel. But yeah, he's got a stand up. So he's fucking hilarious.
It's listed in his IMDb. But so Derek, this had you rolling because it had me rolling. The whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing was, oh my god, that was so brilliant.
Oh, in the side comment where early in the movie he offhandedly goes, "She must be licking your balls." I was fucking dying.
That would make me stay. So
Allison Williams was anyway.
I felt for a while I was the only one laughing, but man, some of the jokes he was throwing out there, I was dying. I was laughing.
Somebody has to laugh to give everybody else permission sometimes.
Yeah. I was about the only one in the theater laughing too, and I enjoyed his role, but I think you're right in the fact that he was funny. He was the most humorous character, but at the same time, I felt like he was just that funny friend that everybody has. You know, that it was never too far. It was like it felt very natural for his character, and we all have friends like that.
I'm a riot.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I didn't want to name names, Scott. So, I mean, even his character is well written. It adds the light parts, but it's not overdone like we've seen in so many movies before. Even horror films where they try to interject some comedic character who's usually just over the top. I mean, there's many directions they could have taken with this character, isn't there, Andrew, compared to what we've seen in modern horror prior to this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sick of horror movies mostly. I mean, I really don't. Most of what comes to the theaters, I just don't. I don't want to see. I've got no interest in. And so when it comes to something like this, I think the reason why I'm love it so much is not because it's a good one, because so many are bad, but it isn't great. It actually is great because it's made by someone who knows the things that have already happened and isn't going to consciously or unconsciously do them. He knows the parts that work and the parts that he's sick of too. I just feel like a real fan made this movie, and so it's not going to go to those places that you were so sick of going. I mean, you guys were talking about the police car at the end pulling up. You're like, oh god, don't let the bad guy still be alive, and don't let the cops shoot him. But everyone's thinking they're going to shoot him.
Yeah,
because
can I ask you guys a quick question? Did it drive you guys bonkers when he was making his escape that he took the earplugs, the cotton out of his ears? Like, the moment he did that, I was just like, motherfucker, you're not out of there yet.
He needs to hear sneaky ass white people. He can't not hear. What got me was, man, when he gets that I guess it was a letter opener or a knife through his hand, He
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
even. He was just like, I have had it. I do not give a fuck.
Yeah, I love that he didn't even hesitate. I mean, he was just like full on, I am getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I
No, if I'm
don't
glad
care.
about anything, it's that the trailer to me had some, and I mentioned this like somewhere, I guess Facebook or Instagram, that the shit that I was hoping that I was not that enthused about in the trailer didn't end up in the movie. There's like a knight and a skeleton of a deer
Mhm.
that jumps out at him, and I was like, if those had been in the movie, it wouldn't have ruined it, but I'd been like, God damn.
He
You
does
know,
find
it didn't
that knight.
fit.
He does find that helmet in the car, doesn't he?
Well,
Well,
but but I'm talking about like there's like watch the trailer. There's like this, there's like a knight or something. I don't know
Well,
what it is.
the knight helmet falls back to what happened in the very beginning of the film.
In the very beginning, yeah.
That's what the brother was wearing when he kidnapped the first individual.
Oh, right.
You
But
know?
yeah, I was so glad that stupid ass CGI skeleton wasn't in the movie.
That's I love that it was so. I've been worried about my whole livelihood, as such as it is, because I too have been really sick of horror films lately. I mean, yes, we've seen some great ones in 2016.
Talk about the things that come to theaters, the stuff that Mark goes to see all the time.
Yeah. But you know what? We had like some good ones in the last year, like Green Room and The Witch and stuff like that. But I just know how it's going to go. I saw trailers for 2 horror films before this thing started. I don't want to see either one of them. I have zero interest. If the choice is that it's playing across the street or you could stay in your house, I'm staying in my house. I mean, because it's the same thing. It's like, yep, it's just this grim, violent, pessimistic, nihilistic thing, and I'm just over it. There used to be a playfulness to this. This one managed to straddle both. It managed to really make a statement, to say some really nice, subtle things, have a satirical edge to it, but it was also entertaining and fulfilling enough that you didn't leave the theater hating yourself. All those moments where we were looking at this movie saying, no, don't let this happen. I know where this is going. Don't let that happen. They never went there. They never let that happen. And I was so thankful for it.
Kills the shit out of the person that's already down. You know what I mean? He doesn't give him the chance to come back up. He comes back, and how many times did he kick homie in the face when he was already down? You know what I mean?
Which we've always wanted people to do. Is like, no, he might get up again. You make sure he can't get up again.
Yeah, he cracked him good with that. Was it croquet ball or something?
Yeah,
like that? He does.
Yeah,
the croquet ball, and he just
hit the white guy with the white sport. Oh god, that's great. If he could have hit him with an episode of The Wire, that would have been.
Yeah, even up to the very end, you're right. He plays
Toad
off
the
of
Wet
those-
Sprocket CD.
episode of This Is Us.
Oh, yeah.
freaking Maroon 5 CD. There you go.
Now you're getting it.
But yeah, that
Whole
ending.
jar of mayonnaise just.
Mayonnaise. Want some mayonnaise on my sandwich? No. Yeah, you're right. Though it plays off the expectations and it makes the smart moves. Because yeah, I fully admit at the very end when you saw I'm like, oh great, here we go. It's going to be the cop, and he's going to kill him, and she's going to be taken to the hospital or whatnot, and it's going to be pinned on him or something. I thought that was kind of the angle. I was hoping they weren't going to go there, but I'm like, well, we've seen, and then it wasn't. It's his buddy, and you're like, oh yeah, all right.
That was the part where I like yelled out. I was so happy to see that guy.
And not to belabor this point anymore, but the audience, if you have a chance to see this with an audience, particularly a full audience, do it. Because the audience, I mean, first of all, the third act happens. Every white person that gets killed, yay! Round of applause. I mean, clapping, not just a cheer, but a clapping every time that was happening. And this moment too, like, yes!
Who wanted him to back the police car over the white lady?
They were so happy when they saw him get out of the car. They're just because you just heard this, because a lot of people, part of white privilege, we're afraid of getting mugged. They're afraid when they see the police.
Mm-hmm.
And getting mugged, of course, but they're also afraid when the help comes because the help isn't helpful.
Just like in the end of what was it, Night of the Living Dead, where they
yeah, and we thought that's exactly where this is going. Like, oh Jesus, here we go. He gets out of the car and everybody just cheering, and then they have that moment, and you're worried something is going to happen in the car.
Yeah.
You're worried something's going to happen. Someone's going to come through the door, or someone was hiding in the back seat, even though it doesn't make sense, because what the hell, But he just sits there. I mean, I told you not to go to our house.
He shrugs and puts his hands out a couple times,
It was a great comedic moment because he's a true friend because he doesn't really want to say it, but he wants to say it at the same time. Like,
he can't help himself.
I wouldn't be able to help myself. It's like, I
admit I cheered when he woke up the Walter just for a moment and he spun around and shot her right in the gut with the gun. I cheered. I think I scared a couple people in the audience because there's only like 5, but I was like, yes.
Also, where do we live? Because this thing is supposed to have hit like #1 this weekend. As we're recording it, we're recording this on the weekend it's opening for the majority of people, I'm sure, are listening to it much later. But we're recording this on the weekend this opens up. This is expected to hit #1. All of us are telling stories about, half-deserted theaters in Mark's case, or in mine, being shoved way at the end theater, Somewhere people are going, thank God, to see this movie.
Well, the audience that I saw with was packed.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Mine was packed too, but it was in the smallest theater in the entire megaplex.
Right.
No,
Same here.
They put this one in the big one that usually the Marvel and the Batman and shit is all #1.
Nice.
It was in the big one.
That is awesome.
Well, horror does well and has always done well in the places where I live. For some reason.
And what's also
totally
interesting is the fact that
I don't like them anymore.
Yeah, you're the draw, Andrew. Everybody followed you there. That's what it is.
So, I mean, I have several black friends, but not that many. I have a theater full of black friends.
What are we doing tonight, Andrew?
Well,
this isn't getting uncomfortable at all, guys.
No, I wasn't saying. I was just saying.
I wasn't saying
people.
that.
I didn't. I didn't know the. Yeah. Okay.
Just stop there, Mark.
I'm just gonna stop there.
Just say oops and get out.
I meant because he's a critic. I didn't think of anything
say
of the race of the audience. So,
Mark,
I'm getting
forward.
Get out.
Yes.
Never happened.
I don't get it.
It's producer's joke, in my case, anyways.
Associate producer joke.
Yes.
I don't know what anybody else is doing. I was referencing the producers, though. But anyway.
So we'll wrap it up here for the evening. What I was going to say is the fact that this is also Oscars weekend, which usually theatrical films don't seem to do that well, but this one is on its way to make a lot of money for an Oscar weekend movie. So and rightly so, and well deserved, I think. So I think we'll wrap it up tonight. I think you'll know the people's reaction to this, but I just want to go real quick and just get everyone recommend people get out to Get Out. Derek?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yeah, man, and it'll really, it shines a light on how our minds as modern horror fans have been trained by all the movies that we see.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, it shows how dumb a lot of that shit is.
It does. It brings to light some of those dumb expectations we have in horror films.
And he doesn't wake up in a zoo. It all really happened.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Jesus. Scotty D, how about you? Yes, Get Out and gets to go see Get Out.
Oh yeah, I mean it's we're getting some nice weird horror films, but they all kind of a lot of them tend to, when it's all said and done, go by a standard formula. This one doesn't. It might not have been exactly the film that I had planned on seeing. I might have even wanted to be a little more biting in moments, but absolutely, I think it's almost commendable how subtle this film winds up being, and it is also a really thrilling experience on top of that. It's one of those films that you're going to think about a lot after it's over, and those are my favorite kind.
It's mine too. I love horror that is used to talk about, discuss, or explore, current topics, things that are really, and this has been a subject for many years, many years, unfortunately, is racism and also classism. I saw an article mentioning about, class as well. But this works on so many levels, and it is also a really great horror film in its own right. I mean, not even with those elements, sometimes you get a film that covers those elements really well, but on the whole, it could have been a better movie. This is everything. It's a great complete package. I loved every minute of it. I want to go back, and I may go back and see it again in the theater before it leaves, because I enjoyed it so much. And hopefully I have a bigger audience to experience it with, because you get a lot of great audience reaction, I think, from this film, from what our guests have said tonight. So just go down real quick then, if you guys could, and tell folks where they can find you when you're not here. Derek?
You can find me at astroradioz.com, and that is my podcast, Astro Radio Z. And other than that, Astro Radio Z is on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. Thank you, Mark, for having me on.
Well, I'm glad you could make it. And Andrew?
Hey, everybody. Motherfuckers. Thanks for having me on, too, guys. I'm Andrew. Make movies with my friends here in Athens, Georgia. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch Barry Scary. And you can watch May of the Dead. And if you want to rent some stuff on Amazon On Demand, there is the Underground Cinema with an S, Late Night Cable, Mondo Gonzo, Pajama Nightmare. And if you go to gonzorific.com, you go buy some DVDs like Dr. Humpenstein's Erotic Castle.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's got a lot of, butts and boobs, everybody. And robots. And
robots.
And lesbian robots.
Lesbian
and a titty
robot.
fight. I'm not lying, for real.
Yeah, I've seen it. And Scotty D?
You can catch me at movieocrity.com. I don't have, titty fights yet, but hopefully maybe I'll set up a Patreon. You can catch me at movieocrity.com, and my show on vimeo.com/channels/movieocrity.
Fantastic. Well, I thank you, gentlemen, for joining in on this discussion, because it's a really great horror film and a great movie in general that I think deserves more talk, and hopefully it does well for some time, because it is very refreshing to get an interesting, refreshing, well put together horror film that is really thought out and just a lot of fun, and yet it says so many things as well. So works on many levels. Go see Get Out. Get out of here. Go see Get Out. Thank you, gentlemen. Say good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Hey, whose next horror movie do you want to see? Rob Zombie's or Jordan Peele's?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele's.
Because